7:04 on Thursday, November 21st. This is the Town of Aurora Park and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, we'll do the land acknowledgement. The Town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and the Chippewas, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? All right. Any questions or comments on the agenda from anyone? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Great, that carries. Next, is there any declaration of pecuniary interests or general nature thereof? Anybody want to declare an interest on any of these? No? Great. Seeing none, let's go to the next item, which is the receipt of the minutes. This is the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting minutes of September 19th, 2024. Can I have a motion to receive the meeting minutes of September 19th, 2024? Michelle? Jesse? Great. Any questions about the minutes for those who were here? Any errors or omissions you want to notice? Jess, I have your hand up? No? Okay. So all in favor of accepting the minutes? Opposed? Great, that carries as well. We don't have any delegations tonight, nor any matters for consideration, but there are two informational items that we want to work on tonight. And the first one is from the manager of recreation, Lisa. Thank you for coming here. This is regarding the sport plan refresh and the status update. So can I have a mover or seconder to put this on the floor so we can have the discussion? Irene, go. Thank you. So the we'll do that when we're done. Lisa, can you let us know a little bit about what we'd like to discuss here tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So you may recall, if you were at the meeting, I think most of you were here in September. The consultants came to this group and sort of went over the sport plan project with you, and there was a bit of a conversation. They had some very direct questions, and so we had that conversation. So that was one of many consultations that have taken place, and since then quite a bit of work has taken place, because it's been about 2 months. So we're at the point now in this project where we've finished the community consultation, and they're now taking all that information, and we're actually going back out to the general public and to members of council to sort of validate the information we heard in that first step. So we want to hear back from the community, our sport organizations and others that were involved. Does this make sense to you? Does it resonate? You know, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to let the committee know where we're at and what our community consultation looked like. In your memo, who we heard from numbers have changed slightly. These are about a month old, but they're still really good numbers for this kind of project. So we're very pleased. We had 19 local sport organizations. We've had about 10 community partner consultations at this point. 268 public surveys came in, and that was a general survey to the community about their sport participation in town, what it looks like, what they participate in. If they don't participate, why not? It was a very open, general public survey. We did 5 jurisdictional scans that included other communities that have sport plans or sport resources like we have in place, and they were a little bit wide reaching. So communities like Hamilton and Windsor were consulted because they have sport plans. A lot of our existing or our York Region municipalities don't have the resources and aren't able to focus on sport the way we are. So we didn't want to survey Newmarket and Georgina and the other communities that we typically survey because that we know they don't have the resources we do, and we just felt it wasn't going to add to the project. So we went a little bit wider reaching just to find out what some of the other municipalities are doing. There was one staff engagement session and one council engagement session. So those were the numbers.
Do you want us to ask questions or just wait until you're all through that?
Maybe wait till I'm
Okay,
through.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, what we heard, a lot of it wasn't a surprise, but some of it was. Facility availability and quality, always a topic of conversation. Isn't, you know, wasn't a surprise, critical to have proper facilities to be able to run sport in town. Program accessibility and affordability, financial barriers in terms of participating was a recurring theme, especially among newcomers and low-income families and that sort of thing. And scheduling as well. So program accessibility around programs weren't necessarily available at the days and times that families wanted or wanted them. And again, that's a balancing act with facilities because we only have so many facilities and we're trying to balance a bunch of competing needs and that sort of thing. Leadership development and volunteer support. Again, we know how critical and how important that is for our sport community because the majority of our organizations are volunteer run, and they need those leadership skills. There's a lot of things that those volunteer leaders need to be aware of in terms of safe sport and their participants and inclusion and DEI and all that sort of thing. So being a sport volunteer, there's a lot to being a sport volunteer. There's a lot of responsibility and a lot that they're expected to know, and they need some support and training there. And then of course, the whole area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how do we do that to make sure that everyone feels like they can participate in sport, that they feel safe in sport, and, you know, just fostering that diversity for anyone who wants to participate. And some language barriers and those comments came up again, and the need for some multilingual marketing materials, perhaps. Communications and booking systems. Some of this is related to the town's internal systems. So the way we book permits and that sort of thing. There's some system glitches. Some people sort of commented on that. And then communication in general around sport events and programs and what's available out there. And once again, the whole multilingual communication challenges and having things in different languages. And then we heard some comments around sport tourism and community engagement as well. So some opportunity to expand sport tourism, but limited due to facilities and resources available. But definitely some opportunity there. Partnerships, there's the possibility for partnerships and sponsorships and that sort of thing, especially when we're looking at potentially some bigger sport tours and things with national and potentially international organizations. So those are sort of the common themes and the things that we heard through our community engagement. And that's the sort of those are sort of the topics that the consultants were now going out to talk about in our validation phase. So we're going to go back to the groups and say, does this resonate? Does it sound familiar? Do you agree? Did we miss anything? That sort of thing. So from that initial consultation phase, the consultants sort of took what they heard and did a SWOT analysis. So your basic strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and sort of plotted the themes into these areas. So strong community support for programs. And we know that. We do have a thriving sport network community in the town of Aurora. There's a commitment to diversity and inclusion. So everybody understands it's important. There's some education needed and people aren't sure you know, they want to be inclusive, but they're not sure how to do that or what that looks like in their particular organization. That our community, there is an engaged community in the sport community, absolutely. And then there was some comments around the positive momentum in the sport, in what the town is doing related to sport. So refreshing the sport plan and having a dedicated resource, staff resource, to focus on sport was seen as a positive. Weaknesses, volunteer, barriers to participation, volunteer burnout, limited leadership development, challenges with the administrative support for some of the LSOs, and some of that is what their provincial and national organizations are requiring of them as well around certifications and insurance. It can become quite daunting for a local sport organization based on what their national or provincial organization is asking of them. And then again, facility availability and access, common themes. So those are some weaknesses. Opportunities around sport tourism, expansion of inclusive programs and that whole area of DEI, leadership and volunteer training, the promotion and communication in multilingual languages and just culturally sensitive programming, and the upgrading of facilities, which is a bigger sort of beast. And then some of the threats are sort of similar in theme: the volunteer fatigue and attrition, the economic barriers, and the competition for hosting events as it relates to sport tourism. Lots of communities are wanting to get into sport tourism because they see the benefits and the economic benefits and the various benefits related to sport tourism. So, like I said, that's sort of what we've heard and where we're at with this project. The consultants are doing this validation, and I did want to mention to the group, and I can email you, there is a session really for LSOs, for anyone who's interested to engage with the consultants next week on November 28th at 7. It's virtual. So I'm going to email that information to this committee. Feel free to, you do need to register just so we know in advance, but the email will have the link to the registration plus the link to the actual Zoom meeting. Like I said, it's just 1 hour next week, and it's for the consultants to sort of just double check that we're, you know, headed in the right direction, sort of thing. And then we are going to put this sort of all together into a bit of a strategy, and consolidate it with the existing sport plan, because this was meant to be a refresh. There are some things in the existing sport plan that still need to be addressed. So it all needs to come together. And then we are planning on presenting this to council at the January committee of the whole meeting. And then we'll go from there in terms of implementing the recommendations and you know, continuing to carry this work forward. So that's all I have to say right now.
Thanks, Lisa. So our job now is just to provide comments. I don't know how many of you did the survey. I know I did it, and I'm glad to see the numbers that you've done there. So let's just do a bit of a roundtable and find out or get comments for Lisa so she can take this back to council and others so we can give her a little bit of direction. So Paul, can I ask you to do it to get us started, and then I'll go up to Jesse and we'll go around that way. Any comments to make?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask, Lisa, you said that the 5 jurisdictional scans. So none of our immediate neighbors have a
Just
sports plan?
Markham,
Just
town of Markham,
does.
and they were one of our 5.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's so
I know.
shocking.
We're very fortunate in Aurora for the resources we have for sport.
Yeah, just back in 2015, when the town or the federal government declared it the year of sport, we were the only town that declared it a year of sport.
Right.
The only town in all of Canada.
Wow.
And along with that, we then started working on the sport plan. Sport plans are typically at Olympic sites and large.
And how long have we had
communities.
our plan for?
Since 2016. It was
2016.
so the work was done in 2015, and then it officially was, you know, completed in 2016. And that was meant to be a 5-year plan. That's why we're doing a bit of a refresh at this point.
Great.
Yeah, everything that I read and heard from you, I am fully supportive of, for sure.
Okay,
I don't really have any questions or comments.
Jess, how about you?
I don't actually think that I have any other questions, sort of beyond what I had said in our last meeting, and you've kind of solidified that all of that is sort of being looked at. So I don't. That all sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
Nothing stands out? Okay.
No, it doesn't. It sort of seems like all the major points are being hit, which
Okay.
is great, which is very positive.
Thanks, Michelle.
Just one question, through you, Chair. Will the updated sport plan be brought back to this committee prior to it being presented to council, or would it just be for information after?
Lisa?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. At this point, it would be information after the fact, just because of timing. We, just the way that committee of the whole meetings are scheduled, we don't want, and the way that these meetings are scheduled every second month, we don't want to delay it anymore. So we are planning on bringing this forward, like I said, in January, and then not sure what the 25 meeting dates for this committee look like. I believe there might be a January meeting, but it would be just after council, the committee of the whole meeting. Yeah.
Follow-up question through you, Chair. Is there concern then that although when I look at the report as written, a lot of majority of information in that report was stated here at this committee, and a lot of the strengths with the SWOT analysis, so the strengths and weaknesses, were from individuals at this table. So I'm just wondering if there's concern or with the refresh and the management strategies in the report to continue on Aurora's sport plan, that there won't be any consultation with park and recreation users prior to it going to council on those management strategies. Are you concerned about consultants writing management strategies without additional input from users or the citizens of Aurora?
Michelle, just so I'm clear, you're just suggesting that maybe we need a little broader reach with respect to the surveys, and maybe we're not catching the right people? Is that fair?
No, so now we know that this information is going to be put into like tangible things for the town to achieve as part of their sport plan, right? So as we move forward, actions and implementations, just wondering if there's going to be a review process for those action and implementation items, because from hearing from here, it could very well mean that the sport plan says we need to introduce new facilities and things along those lines. I'm just wondering if there's going to be additional consultations with user groups or stakeholders outside of the consultants putting that in a plan and it going to council for approval.
Lisa?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So a couple things. One would be that the validation phase that we're doing now. So these themes and things that we've heard, that's why we're doing these validation meetings, to make sure we're on the right track. The sport plan itself is fairly, I want to say, high level. Like, it's not going to get into granular tactics. So what would happen is, in the area of sport tourism, for instance, the sport plan will make some recommendations, and then we as staff would look at how to achieve those recommendations. But in that process of how to, we would then come back to appropriate groups like this advisory committee, or strike a special meeting with our LSOs. So it'll depend on what the item is in the sport plan that we're working on, because we as staff are going to have to really, like I said, come up with the granular tactics. The sport plan won't get that specific, and that's where we'll come back to groups and LSOs for consultation and advice on how to achieve some of these things that are going to be recommended.
Thank you.
Any more? Got it? No, great, thanks. Irene?
I don't think I have much more to add or much beyond what Michelle has said, and I was happy to see that we had, what was it, 268?
Yeah,
answers in the survey. That's pretty good.
yeah, we
Some
were
kind of
all
public
really
surveys are-
pleased with that. Yeah.
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 So that's good. So,
Mhm.
and it, as we said earlier, it's surprising that none of our coast towns have something
Yeah.
like this.
I'm
Didn't
surprised
expect
that we're leaders.
Well, usually we're in the mix of it, you know,
That's
but
right.
it's nice that we're actually leaders of something, so that's good.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's good.
Lisa, do you have any other comments you want to add?
Not on
Or I
this
make it too?
topic. Yep.
Yeah, I did the survey and, but I was looking at it at more of a lens of who's answering this stuff and what are they thinking when they're answering it, because that's a survey, so. I was gonna have a question about the jurisdictional scan, but you did a great job saying that. Some of the words that I had struggled with in there were one of them was sport landscape.
Mhm.
And I don't even know what that really means, and I've been in sport for like 50 or 60
Mhm.
years, so. Did you get a lot of weird responses from that, or?
I don't know, to be honest. I'd have to go back to the consultants to find out what the specific comments were around that. Yeah.
Okay, so that I answered it best I can. but
Yeah.
I'm trying to interpret it.
Yeah, no, it's a
Yeah,
good
clear.
point. Yeah.
The other thing is that I see when we did the SWOT, they did the SWOT analysis, they have the strength as leadership and they have a weakness as leadership.
Yeah. So I think I think we do have good leadership. I think we need to ensure that we continue to build that leadership.
And it may be a definition of what.
Yeah, I
leadership
think,
is
and yeah,
on the field, off the field, in the, you know, because some of the biggest problems in sport organizations is sustainability through boards and being
Yes.
able to replace boards with quality people, and you know, that's
Mhm.
internal kind of.
Mhm.
So.
Mhm. And I think as it relates to weakness, that's what they're talking, like, it's more as it relates to the LSO and their boards.
Right.
I think the comment under strengths is the resources we have within the town and the support from council that we have for sport, and the fact that we have a dedicated sport resource and a dedicated sport plan and funding to do, like, that's what the comment under the strengths mean. It's more around the corporate and council support we have for sport development internally.
Yeah, okay, as long as it's captured. I
Yeah.
just didn't exactly know
Yeah.
what that meant, so everybody just interprets it the way they like to.
Mhm.
Any other final thoughts before we move along? Okay, now, hearing none, I just have to make the motion that the memorandum regarding the sport plan refresh and status update be received for information. Can I get a vote on the receipt of the report? All in favor? Any opposed? None. Thank you. Okay. Off to the next thing. This is going to talk about the High Five program and the issue of registering the municipality, et cetera. So Lisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, just an informational memo on a program that the town is undertaking, and it's called High Five. It is a program, it's a quality standard program that relates to recreation, sport, leisure programming specifically. And it's specifically for children ages 4 to 12 and adults 55 plus. And it's a great program because it's rooted in research. And so they did a lot of work, and it's actually been around for a really long time. It's been around since 1994, and they've tweaked it over the years. And the town is now making a commitment to become a registered municipality. But it's a great program, like I said, because it's rooted in research, and it's research around what makes a good program experience for children 4 to 12 and adults 55 and over. And they've focused on children 4 to 12 specifically because they know that's a critical time in child development. And that the experiences they have in recreation, sport, and leisure programs can really be, can really sort of set them up for life, really, to become, where they learn skills and make friends and that sort of thing. So it is very much focused on children 4 to 12 and then the older adult population of 55 plus. When it comes to recreation, programming, a lot of similarities in that two age groups, surprisingly. So the foundation of the program is built on 5 principles. So those principles are a caring leader. So the child or the 55, the older adult walks into a program, and the program leader, the instructor knows their name, or at least asks their name on the, the first day, if it's the first day. The opportunity to make friends, the opportunity to play, the opportunity to master skills, and the opportunity just to participate. So based on research, those are 5 things that have been identified that make a positive program experience. It doesn't mean that the participant needs to excel at whatever the program is, but they need to have the opportunity to try, and to try in an environment that's fun, and all those things, the DEI, all the things that we've talked about. So the program really focuses on those 5 principles, and then it focuses on how to design a recreation or leisure or sport program that makes those principles possible. So programs that are welcoming of diversity and uniqueness, programs that are safe, and programs that are developmentally appropriate. You don't want a child to come into a program where they cannot do the skills because it's beyond their capabilities because of their age. That's really frustrating for a participant, and will turn them off for sure. So developmentally appropriate to the age is very important. So based on that, the High Five program provides quite in-depth training and coaching on how to develop your programs around using those 3 things, and then incorporating the 5 principles. And then once staff are trained on how to do that, there's a very specific evaluation that different staff do, and they're very specific things that they're looking for to ensure that programs are demonstrating these principles and design elements that we've talked about here. So the program it's designed by Parks and Rec Ontario in partnership with the Government of Ontario, and it's administered by Parks and Rec Ontario. So the town has committed to training a certain number of staff in these principles, as well as getting staff trained in how to evaluate these principles and design elements. So like I said, there's a lot of training, ongoing training, and it's just to ensure sort of a high quality program experience for our participants. And the benefits to the town are that obviously we want to ensure that participants have a great program experience, that everything is age appropriate. It can reduce liability for the town, and that sort of thing. And it just ensures a good experience. And I think that that's really the gist of the information. We're quite excited about this. I do want to say, the town has always had program standards. It's not like we've never put thought into developing our programs, but they've been our own internal standards, and there's a lot of support through the High Five organization in terms of the training and that sort of thing. So, but we've always had high program standards. This one is just it's a guideline for us to follow. So we're pretty excited about this. So there's sort of 2 steps in terms of the commitment the municipality can make, and the High Five organization will audit us. So in addition to what we're responsible for in terms of staff training and program evaluation and that sort of thing, they will audit us to see, they'll ask for training records and how many staff did you train and how many programs did you evaluate and what do those evaluations look like, what did they reveal, sort of thing. So there is sort of a 2-step. You can be a registered municipality, which is the first step, which is what we've done, and then you can work toward becoming an accredited municipality. And that is somewhat exclusive. It's only about 10% of organizations go on to become accredited. It's just a little bit more of a step up. There's a little bit more training required. There's slightly elevated quality standards. But again, benefits in terms of enhanced reputation and that sort of thing for the town. So it may be something we look at in the future. They recommend it's a 2 to 3 year process to become an accredited municipality anyway. So you focus first on your obligations as a registered municipality. So it may be something we work toward in the future. But like I said, we're pretty excited. It's just, it standardizes things for us in terms of how we're planning our programs and implementing our programs. And it standardizes our staff training as well as our program evaluation. So I just want to let the committee know that the town has committed to that program.
Okay, got that it?
Yes.
Let's start the other way around then. Irene, if you
Yeah.
want to give comments about what the town's doing here, questions?
Question,
Mhm.
Chris. In the first one, the sports plan refresh, we talked a lot about training of one of the weaknesses, leadership and volunteer training.
Mhm.
This program talks a lot about training.
Yes.
Is there any overlap between, what we saw as a weakness, and this training seems to be specific to
Yes.
certain aspects, but would we see some benefits for the
We
leadership and
We
volunteer?
could, the training for the high five is for town staff only and for town program, it is going to apply to town programs only. The sport plan, leadership development is around leadership development in our community organizations. So it's us providing resources, training, maybe trainers for our local sport organizations, which may or may not be high five. There is an opportunity to bring some of the high five training to our LSOs if they would like it
Mhm.
and they feel it's of benefit for their development of the organization. So there is a little bit of overlap. But the focus for the high five is on town staff and town programming. But it's the training includes things like, diversity and equity. Inclusion includes things on physical literacy and fundamental movement skills. So it does, high five includes all of that. So there could be some carryover. So it could be as we get into the training of and the leadership piece in the sport plan, there could be some things, some high five things that carry over, definitely, because there's those common themes for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be good if we had some synergy between them.
Yeah.
Even though it's focused for town staff then interact with our volunteer organizations or the sports organizations, so there could be things that would flow down.
Yeah, it's a possibility for sure.
It's a
Yeah.
great question
Yeah.
because, I mean, many of our sport organizations often struggle at that beginning, the learn to play. And that's what really this is all about, to get
Mhm.
people excited at a younger age.
Yeah.
And, we don't want to turn kids off
No.
early by the wrong stuff.
A poor
And
experience.
this program, and how long has this program been around?
It's 25
Yeah,
years.
it's been around-
Yeah.
it's been for a
Been
long,
around a
long
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're getting it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, go up here to Jess. Can we go to you?
Sorry, wasn't ready. I do have a couple questions. You talked about how the High Five organization does auditing of
Mhm.
each organization. Is there any actual external oversight, like other than sort of looking at, say, the town of Aurora, like numbers, how many staff were trained, or that sort of thing? Like, is there any where a High Five person comes in and like does instructor evaluation or any of that sort of thing? Or is it literally just sort of looking at our data as we're implementing it?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So there is some oversight. I mean, to become a registered municipality, we're supposed to commit to having 75% of our staff trained. And so when we set up a training session, each individual has to register with High Five that they're in that training session. So it's not just us saying these staff took the training, they get a profile with High Five, so to speak. So there's that sort of tracking. They do come in, especially when you're looking at making that jump from registered to accreditation, they do come in to do some auditing. But it is a bit of an honor system in terms of providing documents and that sort of thing. I think, you know, if you make the commitment to become a registered municipality, you make the commitment 100%. Like we've had to pay a fee to become a registered municipality. So yeah, I mean, it's a mix. There's only so much auditing that High Five can do and or would want to do. And then there's us upholding our obligations, and by committing to becoming a registered municipality, we fully intend to uphold our obligations because we want the benefits from the program. So it's a little bit of a combination of both.
And I think you've answered my second question there, because I had noticed when you were presenting, you mentioned some staff will be certified.
Yes.
And so I
So
was wondering what that meant, but
75%,
you said
yeah.
75%. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, we're going to try and exceed that. It's difficult with part-time not summer staff. They're actually easier to train because we get them all together for an intense training, but we have a lot of turnover in part-time staff. So, and High Five understands the transitory nature of part-time staff, which is why they've made it 75% and not like 100%, because we'd have to be running a High Five course every week. And what we can do is, because we're constantly hiring, onboarding, and training, is although we may not get, you know, that small portion through High Five, for every single staff that we bring on, there's training. We can incorporate some of the High Five things in our own training, even if we can't get them in a proper High Five course right away.
Fair enough. Thank you.
That's it. Michelle, you're up next.
Great, thank you. Through you, Chair, let me just open my questions here. I didn't see anything, and maybe this isn't for this report, but the overall cost of joining the program, did the town do an assessment on how much it would cost to be a participant in this program? So accreditation aside, so I've done quite a few accreditations, and 75% of staff trained is a significant amount of money for the town. And then following the other requirements. So was a cost analysis completed on the overall cost of joining the program? And is there a yearly cost for the auditing to be completed?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So there is not a yearly cost for the auditing. It's sort of part of your annual registration fee. And then with respect to training and the costs associated with that, it's a great question. And we certainly did do some analysis. So you can imagine, you know, we're training 300 part-time staff a year. We have this training budget, and a lot of it is allocated to mandatory things like first aid and health and safety, but we've always trained staff on healthy child development, how to develop a program. So we've always spent budget money on that type of training. We're now going to take the money we've spent on that previously and spend it on High Five. So we're just shifting how we spend the money. We don't need any new money or additional money to do this. Because we do have a good training budget already. We're just going to focus it on High Five, and cover the things we want to cover under High Five, instead of, like I said, we'd always done how to develop a program. We'd always offered that training. We're now going to offer it, the High Fives version of that training.
Follow up.
Great. And in separation of that, then I guess, are you going to be, through your chair, conduct or doing or have a promotional plan in place? Because I'm assuming that you're expecting us being a High Five municipality or a town, that we would be attracting other people to participate in our programs, or other municipalities or towns to be kind of like us. So is there a plan for like promoting this when we are certified, and is it expected to boost the enrollment in our programs, or help set a gold star, like setting a rating, I guess, then for other areas to be joining in Aurora for our programs, or will they strictly? I know there's like a million questions in there, but I guess what is the plan then to ensure, to symbolize it, to make it known, and how do we expect it to enhance our programming at the town?
Please.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So yes, so definitely we're working with our corporate communications department right now to talk about how do we want to launch this and sort of announce to the community that we're doing this. We definitely will be putting something in our spring summer program guide. We were just discussing that the other day in terms of this, us becoming a high five registered municipality. So there's a few things we're doing on the communication end to sort of announce this. We'll probably do some things in our facilities, some banners and things to say that we are a high five registered municipality. We're not really prepared to do that till, at some point in the winter. We're just getting our first group of full-time staff through some of the training. We've got a lot of training to do over the next 6 months before we can be comfortable saying we're high five compliant.
Others? Michelle? Oh, first time.
Thank you through Mr. Chair. Some follow-up really, to piggyback on what Michelle was just asking. I'm not as familiar with high five, and I don't assume that much of the community is either.
I would agree.
So again, it's promoting not only that we are part of this program, but also what it represents, right?
Mhm.
I think is a big part to get out to the community. And piggybacking on what Irene was asking about, will there be opportunities for LSOs because some of our LSOs, like the group that I'm with, run some town program or through the town, right?
Yeah.
So will they be included in that? Will there be opportunities for some of these organizations that are helping to run some of the town programs
Yeah.
get into this?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So we're having those discussions right now. The LSOs that are running programs with the town are considered contracted services. High Five actually exempts contract services from having to do the training, but we're hoping to sort of exceed, we want to exceed the minimum standards of High Five. So we've had the discussion around offering the course to some of our contracted services, because we do have some that we've worked with for years and years and years. And we just sort of need to do that analysis, because there are contracted services who come in and out with it for a short period of time, and we have to decide where it makes sense to invest best. So yes, we've had those discussions where High Five actually exempts contractors, but we're hoping to exceed their minimum standards and be able to offer the High Five training to some of our contractors.
One last question was again, kind of jurisdictionally, what other jurisdictions are part of the High Five program?
That's a good question, through you, Mr. Chair. So we know Richmond Hill is, and we know Newmarket is. Ajax, Pickering in Durham region, Whitby. There are a lot of municipalities sort of around us who are already High Five registered. Georgina is not, and I don't think East Gwillimbury is either, but it's a mix. I would say it's 50-50. Yeah.
Any more person? Irene?
Yeah.
Second time, anybody's get ready if you got a second one.
To you, Mr. Chair. You said that the town already does a lot of the training or has always trained.
Yeah.
Now, is High Five bringing on new training materials, or are they supplementing what you already use, or are they filling the gaps where the town really didn't have training for a number of these things?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I would say it's better training, to be honest. It is because it's rooted in research. So, like I said, we had always done training on age-appropriate activities for a 5-year-old and how to develop a day of camp for a 5-year-old. And I think it was good training, but it wasn't as standardized as High Five, and like I said, rooted in research, always has the newest, latest and greatest. And, you know, they've got the manuals, they've got worksheets, it's all there for us. So I would say it's just a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesse, Michelle, second time, anybody has other comments to make? Questions? No? Yes? No? Oh. No. My comment is, I think it's a great program. I've taken it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the difference, because I do physical literacy things and others, but I think the difference in this is that this really takes the emotional,
Mm-hmm.
looks at the development of a child, not just physically, but emotionally. And it really is designed to make them feel welcome,
Yeah.
comfortable, and to engage them and orient them to sport. And I really think it's a great program.
Yeah.
The other question, though, I think we're planning on doing a train the trainer thing.
Yes.
So that we don't have to bring trainers
Yeah.
in all the time and have that cost.
Yeah.
We have an on-staff person who's
Yes.
trained to be a high five deliverer.
Yes.
So they can train those trainers.
That's
coaches,
right.
Correct?
Yep. We have a few people in the process of getting that status. Yeah.
And following up from what Bo said, I think this should be offered, even if it's at a cost
Mhm.
to sport organizations, because if it's volleyball or whether it's basketball and they're dealing with 5, 7, 8, 10-year-olds and even more older in a recreational program, which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they would benefit a
I
lot.
think if they want it, we can certainly have those conversations. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even if it's you bring your 10 coaches in,
Yeah.
they're each gonna have to pay a little bit of money to
Yeah.
be trained, it really makes a difference for them, I think.
Mhm.
Any other last words before we leave? No? Okay, were you gonna say something? You're gonna remind me to call the vote? Oh, sorry, I didn't do a mover and seconder. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Thank you. Okay, just to receive the report and the comments, so all in favor? Opposed? Done, thank you. Thanks, Linda. Anything else I'm missing before we leave? Anybody have any new business? I mean, I want to thank everybody for being on this. This has been a pleasure to work with each one of you. I've enjoyed every minute of it, so. I don't know if any of you have reapplied for this or other ones, but are we still open or not? We're done? Okay. So hope to see you out there sometimes. If you have any questions or anything, you can certainly get in touch with me. And with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Irene?
Yeah.
Great. Oh, second. All in favor? I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday. It's great to start talking
Yeah.
about safe and happy holidays. So,
But it's not.
I know.
yeah,
Good
got some
snow
Christmas
on-
music on the way over.
Snow on the first.
Oh, yeah. Santa Claus parade on Saturday. Don't forget.
Yeah, I may have been roped into marching in it, so
Good.
Or are you gonna?
lighting fire.
Yeah, so come on out on Saturday night,
My
and, stand in the cold and rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's not raining.
Yeah, cross our fingers.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. I